by Miller Lite and Luther Auto. And now, to kick off your NFL weekend, this is Vikings Live.
X marks the spot this evening on Vikings Live, and we happen to be very excited about it. The X being Xavier Woods, game-changing safety. We're going to chat with him shortly as we dissect routes to pulling an upset against the Baltimore Ravens. Welcome to Vikings Live, and your host is Bonjour, Hobie RT.
Merci beaucoup, mon ami Paul Allen. Thank you for joining us here on Vikings Live as we get you ready for what's to come against the Baltimore Ravens as the Vikings try to get a win after that disappointing loss to Dallas. Along with Ron Johnson and Ben Lieber, I'm Hobie RT. And guys, we all know that this team is going to Baltimore, but mentally, Ben, where do they go from here after that loss that they had to Dallas, a game that they certainly could have won?
Well, let me just get this out of the way first. I think the only French word I know is frites. Is that for fries? Like steak frites?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah. Well, yeah, you got PA, you talking French. I'll say frites. Now you got to come up with a word yourself. Okay.
Pardon, that's what it was for the Vikings. Not good last Sunday.
Okay. Look, I think this team, to me, feels like they're in the tank a little bit. You know, as players, sometimes after a poor performance, either in practice or a game, whatever, you see these guys that kind of sulk around and you're kind of in the tank and it takes you a while to get out of it. And usually when you get a little bit of time away, you can get out of the tank. I feel like the way this team walked off the field, they're in the tank. Mm-hmm. And they don't have a bye week or any chance to take a deep breath. So I think they're in a bad situation. They got somehow, some way pull some confidence out this week in practice.
Yeah, I don't have any French words. I was just going to say Paris, France, French fry.
I said fries.
Did you say fries? Yeah. I said the French, that's my word. If you look at me, when you're 3-4, honestly, it's tough. It's a tough uphill battle. The only positive for them is Aaron Rodgers' positive test. That's going to give them a chance to come back to the field. But winning the NFC North is probably so far out of the picture. The goal now is just to try to get back in that 7th wild card spot. But mentally, you have to stay into this because that's the problem is the locker room has to stay together.
Well, to get back into that conversation, the Vikings offense will certainly have to turn it on, especially after the way that they played against the Dallas Cowboys last week. But it's been a common trend, as you can see some of the numbers behind me right now, the difference in wins and losses with this offense, especially on third down, guys. In wins, they're converting almost 50%. On third down, 26% in those losses. The points totals, the yards totals, all of those take a drastic drop. Ron, what can be remedied with this offense right now? Because last week, that's just not going to get it done.
Yeah, 7.7% on third down is never going to get it when the next closest team at 31st was Miami Dolphins at 28.6. So if you can't even get close to the Dolphins, I mean, that's tough. And so you look at the average third down to go was 8.5 yards. So first and second down, they've got, and Zimmer brought this up too, that they got to find ways to get in second and short, or third and short. But I look at the Ravens. The Ravens have one of the best second down offenses in the NFL as far as attacking teams on second down. And I think that's where Kubiak has to do a better job of not trying to play for third and short. Go get the first, if it's 2nd and 8, go get the first down on second down.
Ron, Ben, what's off with the offense right now?
You know, I really think it comes down to just tempo and rhythm. When this team, let's go back to the Carolina game, when this offense is playing with tempo and they're breaking the huddle, getting up, quick snapping, and they're manipulating the defense and not allowing them to set their feet and make their checks, and they put them on their heels, that's when our offense is awesome. That's when it's explosive. That's when we can start breaking runs with Dalvin. So I think somehow, some way, outside of the 15 scripted plays to start the game, we have to come out more consistently with a tempo and dictate the tempo to the defense.
And that's a very similar storyline coming out of the Cleveland Browns game, but now that has to change. One thing that might change, too, of course, the play at center heading into this game, because Garrett Bradbury, the starting center for the Vikings, placed on the COVID-19 reserve list, putting his status for Sunday in serious doubt. If he is not a go-to guy, which he has been for this Vikings offensive line, how much does that affect things, Ben?
It affects things, but I think the signing of Mason Cole, I think, can give us a little bit of solace in the fact that, you know, he was a starter with the Arizona Cardinals, and he's a center guard type of guy. He's played center before, so it's not like we have to ask a guy that's never played center before, never commanded the offensive line and made those calls. He is a smart, cerebral player, no doubt. And look, let's not sugarcoat this thing. Bradbury's had his issues when it comes to pass blocking. So it's not like I think we're going to be missing this all-pro pass blocker at center. I think Mason Cole's going to go in there and do a fine job.
Yeah, I think for Mason Cole, his biggest thing is going to be communication with the guards. When you look at what the Ravens do with that 3-4 defense, he's going to have to communicate to make sure they know who they're supposed to block, because there is a missing. It's not the normal four down front. So make sure you identify the correct running back correct linebacker, so that you know who you're blocking in the run game. If he's having communication issues, that's when you'll see gashes of guys just shooting through because they're confused or they're not talking. But like Ben said, there's been conversations about Bradbury on every post-game show possible about getting pushed back, 2-3 yards on the Kirk's feet, making Kirk nervous. So honestly, Mason Cole is kind of going in with a clean slate to say, hey, as long as I can keep the pocket a little bit cleaner, I'm going to do, I'll get graded better.
When you're talking about disrupting on the other side of things, Danielle Hunter in his career with the Vikings has done a great job at that. Started off the season with 6 sacks, but he will be out for the remainder of the season with that torn pec injury. He did so much for the defensive line that is now second in the NFL in sacks, guys. But also, Ron, his presence kind of dictated so many things for the defense as a whole. Yeah,
his presence, his leadership, him and Everson Griffin's relationship, all of that you could see it was contagious. But you look at last year when he wasn't around, I heard Ben bring us up on the radio, they were horrible. And so, and Mike Zimmer said it was one of his worst defenses ever. And so and you didn't have Everson either, though. So maybe having Everson now, DJ Wanham, hopefully you can still look similar to what it was, but missing Danielle, that's a huge miss.
Yeah, it's big, and having Everson here now obviously is a big bonus compared to last year. I think they're just going to have to get creative. You're going to have to move Everson to the inside, I believe, on third and obvious passing situations. Look, Everson's not a true 3 technique to stop the run, but if we do a good job on first and second down, I would expect to see Sheldon Richardson, Everson Griffin on the inside, get some speed on the outside, run some twists, run some stunts. Specifically for this game, the Baltimore Ravens offensive line is a hot mess. They've had injuries upon injuries. They've had guys shuffling around. They're not very good up front, so we can exploit that with some speed, moving Everson inside.
And a big question for the defensive line, too. Will Michael Pierce play against his former team? He practiced yesterday, did not practice today. Still up in the air if he is going to play in this game or not, Ben. But how big of a boost would he be to get that big guy back in the middle?
I think it's huge. I think everybody's been impressed with him. I know I've been impressed with the way that he's handled everything and stopped the run. I've been really impressed by him adding a pass rushing skill set that he didn't really have before. So we can use him on all 3 downs. And again, he gives us some position flexibility with everybody across the defensive line. So hopefully he can play this weekend.
Yeah, it's just energy of getting back home. Going back to your former team, you always have a little bit of extra juice to you. And so that energy, that warm-up, that presence on the defensive line as well, that's something they really need.
Replacing pieces on each line will be a priority for the Purple. But let's be real, there is a lot on the line this weekend for this Vikings team trying to get back to 500. And for more on this group, we toss it over to Dawn Mitchell. And Dawn, how are the guys feeling as they head to Baltimore this weekend?
I think Ben nailed it earlier where, sometimes the psyche isn't where it should be at this point, but all the guys today saying, listen, we're not hanging our heads, things are going great. But when you talk about things up front, both the offensive line and the defensive line, consistency is not a word that they're going to see this week, right? Garrett Bradbury, whatever you want to say about him, he's consistent with Kirk Cousins. And then when you look at Danielle Hunter, he's been consistent on that D-line. So we will see what happens when both of them are not playing, if indeed Garrett Bradbury does not play, but especially so on the defensive side because his teammates are still reeling.
Yeah, man, it's awful.
If anyone knows how to deal with the torn pec muscle, it's linebacker Anthony Barr. He knows the pain, the rehab, and the tough mental aspect Danielle Hunter is facing. And they all know it's about the next man up.
Be patient, be diligent, and just take your time with it. It's something that requires time, and I think everyone's timeline is a little different, but there's no need to rush back. Get back to 100% before you feel like you can get back and do the things you love to do.
Yeah, it was a pretty surreal feeling. Something I've been working for a long time.
got the game taken away in 2020. Had to, sit back and watch from the sidelines, learn from the sidelines. So to get that opportunity to go out there, it's just a dream come true.
The O-line hopes to just be dealing with the loss of Garrett Bradbury for a short time and hopes he gets back and healthy as soon as possible. In the meantime, the leaders need to hold this thing together. Brian O'Neill knows they just have to keep focus, and that is on the Ravens.
I think my role should, try to be consistent. I'm not going to change who I am this week after a tough one, but at the same time, you try to take personal responsibility to bring a lot of energy and understand, there might be a moment where we can put a team away that we haven't in the past, and understanding that, if we're trying to simulate something in practice, those kind of situations are important, and just kind of having a sense of urgency and not necessarily going through the motions, and making people understand that, hey, we got to go. It's time to go. It's time to get this thing rolling.
And on Sunday, that means to dig down and find it against Calais Campbell and company.
Anytime you have the players with that kind of production that they've had for a long time, you have to go in with the utmost respect for who they are as a team and who they are as individual players. Both of them, Calais and Justin Houston, I think both have over 90 sacks in their career. The rookie from Penn State's playing really well. They have some other edge guys. They have a big nose up front. So they have a lot of talented players. I remember playing Calais in 2018 when the Jaguars came here. And that week was kind of a welcome to the NFL moment for me.
So Calais taught him a lesson, and it's one he didn't forget. But you know what? When it comes to overall the offense, we heard Mike Zimmer say it earlier this week, you need to get the ball into our playmakers' hands. So that's another huge key going forward. So we'll just have to wait and see if consistency matters or if they can get it together in Baltimore. Back to you.
That's certainly something that's going to have to happen, is trending things in the right direction. Dawn, thank you. It's going to be a tough task, though, especially whenever you look at the Ravens this season. 5-2 guys. They boast a great run game, third best in the league right now whenever you're talking about yards per game, top 10 in points scored, but they've given up a bunch, too, right now in the bottom half of the league of points given up per game. This is a Ravens team that started off the season with a loss, 5 wins in the middle, and then a loss right before the bye week. Ben, what's your gauge on this team? Because they've won some games by very slim margins as well.
They're beatable. I think everybody wanted to look at this game on the schedule, as I did, going on the road to Baltimore, like, ooh, no matter how good we're playing or where our status was at, it's like, this is going to be a tough game. And now the more I break it down and you see their vulnerabilities, like I talked about with their offensive line, you can get after Lamar in passing situations. You can put pressure on him because this offensive line has been beat up and they've got a bunch of guys that don't belong there. And their linebackers in secondary have been horrible in pass coverage. So they have some big holes, some big vulnerabilities that I think that we can take advantage of. So nothing to be scared of.
Yeah, I think their offense is the key, is boom or bust. So you look at their big play receivers, you look at Mark Andrews, you look at the big Lamar Jackson runs. If Lamar Jackson's not getting those explosive plays, they're very basic, and they don't know how to really grind a game out. They are looking for the big play, so the Vikings have to minimize that in order to stay in this game.
And Ron brings up Lamar Jackson, one of the best players in the NFL, an MVP a few years ago. He is the key to make everything go in Baltimore. He's really the spark plug, including for the defense, with the way his energy just kind of rubs off on people and the way he is able to take over a game, Ben. And everybody talks about it, his feet. That's weapon number one that you're going to have to worry about for a team that went into the season without a running back.
Yeah, the thing is, like, he's a special player. I mean, no doubt that he can throw the ball down the field, but you watch here with this design quarterback run game. This is just nothing but the defensive end collapsing too much. He's the guy at the top of the screen at the line of scrimmage. When you collapse like that, you're going to open up that outside seam, and then you see the downfield blocking. Those guys do a tremendous job. You cannot be in this offense as a wide receiver if you don't commit to being a blocker at times because of the threat of Lamar Jackson. Then you have here, this is just, they pull a front side guard, they get another blocker. That front side guard is now like an extra fullback in front of Lamar Jackson. It looks like I have the option of a speed option. I can pitch this if I want. But if you get that look in that green grass, that dude is going to take that thing vertical, and you can see how tough. He's a slight, skinny guy, but the guy still runs with power.
And also small guy with a lot of speed, but also Ron showing off the arm this season, too, because he is getting that ball downfield, using his feet to manipulate the pocket, but also hanging tough, too.
Well, in the first play you'll see here, you're going to see his tight end. That's his favorite target. So Mark Andrews is basically just he's reversing out to run an in route, but then it's the second play. So when he reverses out, nothing's there. Now he has to scramble. This is where you got to plaster your guy. Everybody has to plaster the guy in their area. Don't cover grass because Lamar has to be accounted for by somebody else. Mark Andrews keeps running. Lamar's going to find him. He's not always looking to run. He's looking to pass. And then here, this is just bad coverage. They're in cover 2, and he runs a go route. And I don't know if it's because he released inside. One DB is in no man's land. The safety, or quarters almost looks like now, and the safety's doing nothing but sitting there. Your deepest guy is coming to your quarter of the field. He's got to be able to carry him. And Lamar just throws an absolute laser over his head, and he uses speed. And so, again, that's where the corners and the safeties have to be able to talk and know that when Marquise Brown lines up, he's going to go, he's fast. Well, so you can't let him get behind you.
Well, one place Cooper Rush did not want to throw the ball last weekend, that's where X marked the spot. And still coming up here on Vikings Live, we're joined by Xavier Woods, a star against the Cowboys last weekend, his former team, now with the Minnesota Vikings, making some big plays. He's chatting with Paul Allen when we return here on Vikings Live.
Welcome back to Vikings Live. Brought to you by Miller Lite and Luther Auto.
Well, if there was a star against that team from Texas on Sunday night, it had to be Xavier Woods with the way he played against his former team. An interception, a sack, and a forced fumble for some purple payback against those Cowboys. But now it's all about translating that into more success here in 2021. And joining us live tonight, of course, is Xavier Woods, catching up with Paul Allen in our Player Spotlight.
Well, man, thank you very much. And hope you just hit on it. I mean, seriously, wow. Your former team, you're so jacked up to win the game. You know, it's not like you want to show anybody up or anything, but that was a very big game on multiple levels. Interception, first sack of your career, which surprised me. Yep. And it was a strip sack, completely turning the game. That's great. You felt good, but you guys didn't win the game. Mm-hmm. So, like, how do you balance that with smelling the roses, but 3 and 4?
Man, at the end of the day, none of that matters just because we lost. And, I mean, it would have been perfect if we would have won. And the fact that we didn't win, it didn't really matter. Maybe I feel like I should have done more. I feel like I left a play out there. So that's all that matters to me.
Now, in a game like that against your former team, or really against any team, playing the safety spot, okay? And, you know, with Zimmer, whether you're the free safety, the strong, I mean, you could be both during the course of the same game. The safety role, the last level of defense, what are keys to being a good safety and like playing that role as the last line of defense?
At the end of the day, you have to be smart. Safeties have to be smart. Safeties are like the quarterback of the defense, depending on what type of defense you're in. And this defense, you kind of have to make the checks and like a quarterback. Have to be smart. Have to have a high IQ. And our job is to be the protectors. At the end of the day, no one will see if a D lineman mess up or if a linebacker messes up. But if a safety messes up, yeah, the crowd's going to be roaring, and trombone's going to be playing, and all of that. The horn's going to be playing, all of that.
Still plays the trombone.
So we mess up, then everyone's going to know. So you have to be a protector back there.
Right, but see, like when, you know, unless you know what the play is, the fan or media or whatever, and frequently you'll see the safety, you know, Harrison, somebody just flying over there, and somebody be like, oh, well, the safety was late. Well, really, the corner may have made the mistake, and the safety was trying to cover up for it. So, I mean, the whether it's praise or criticism for a safety, that has to be elevator music, in one ear and out the other, right?
Most definitely. Just like a corner, you have to have a one-play mentality. Where you mess up or you do good, take the highs and the lows the same, and stay level-headed. And I mean, you're gonna get criticized if you're just in the picture. It could be some other player's guy. You could be in the picture. Oh, Xavier didn't cover his man.
Yeah.
So you just got to take both, take the highs and the lows, and just be level-headed.
So now playing somebody like Lamar Jackson, 6.5 yards per run, 8.5 yards per attempt. Good for Lamar. He's really, really stepping up with that deep game. What's challenging for a safety against Lamar?
His legs. Bottom line, just his legs. Man, he's one of a kind. Truly one of a kind. You got to stop the run, which is going to be tough. Then stop him. Stop his scramble ability, which you can slow it down. You can't stop it. It's just the bottom line. And then be able to stop this deep threat. You got Hollywood over there, who's been fantastic for him. And then the tight end as well, who's been catching a lot of passes for him. Those two guys are leading the team in passing. And they're throwing the ball around pretty good. Yeah,
then you have Rashad Bateman, the former Gopher, definitely one of the best 3 to 5 Gophers receivers in the history of the program, like Eric Decker and Rashad Bateman, Tyler Johnson, Ernie Wheelwright. But anyway, we'll talk about this another time. Now, if you're one-on-one with Lamar in open field, and he's that big and that thick, like with Kyler, that's different. He runs, but he's slender. So, like, how do you handle Lamar open field trying to get him down?
I feel like those two guys are kind of one and the same once you get in open field.
Really?
Yeah, those two guys are quick and very fast and shifty.
Now, lastly, about 15 seconds, working with Harrison Smith, how has he helped you adapt to your new team?
He's helped me so much, man. I just credit my season this year so far to just being beside him and being in the same room as him and learning from him. And just being able to pick his brain every day is a blessing for me.
It's been a blessing to have you on the show. Hobie, very well respected. When you talk to coaches and everybody about Xavier, great communicator, gets things settled down, and just a scholar of the game, man. A lot of respect for Xavier Woods.
Louisiana natives, got a little something going for them.
Do you think I had Ron too high at 5?
It's a solid pick, PA.
Sorry, Ron.
Thank you, PA, and to Xavier Woods. Still much more to come here on Vikings Live as we preview Thursday Night Football.
Brought to you by Miller Lite and Luther Auto.
Time to wrap things up with Ron Johnson and Ben Lieber. And guys, your Vikings keys to victory as they try to get their 4th win of the season and back to 500 in Baltimore this weekend.
I'm going to be very specific. On third down, do not just line up and run the play called. I think Kirk needs to evolve a little bit, look at the defense, figure out the best play for that third down situation.
And I'm going to go back to what I talked about earlier. I want to see tempo. Tempo from this offense. And I'm not saying it has to be 100% all the time. I'm just saying mix it up. You can huddle a little bit. You can go no huddle a little bit. You can go hurry up, quick snap. Just
do something.
Keep the defense on their heels.
And, of course, Thursday Night Football tonight, and it's 2 teams with 5 losses already on the season as the Jets visit the Colts. This Jets team, though, with Mike White leading the way, looked pretty good against the Bengals, but the Colts, they need a win to stay alive in the division right now.
I'm going to go with the Colts just for the simple fact of you look at the offense, you look at the fact that they haven't hosted a primetime game, and they put like 1,400 days or something, I don't know. So I'm going to go with the Colts.
Yeah, the Colts last week got all 5 starters back on the offensive line for the first time all season.
Wow.
I think that's going to be huge going against one of the worst pass defenses in the league against the Jets. I'm going to go Colts.
Who has a bigger game then, Carson Wentz or Mike White tonight?
I'm going to say Carson Wentz because I think Mike White has film now, and so they can figure out ways to confuse him.
Short week, man. I don't know if he's going to be able to carry that into the second game and throw.
I don't know. That's why you have to watch Thursday Night Football right here on Fox 9. For Ron Johnson, Ben Lieber, Don Mitchell, Paul Allen, I'm Hobie Artigue. Have a great night, everybody.
Vikings Live.